Welcome to another episode of the Bible and Music, and I'm here with Horace, and we're going to review a piece by Henk Badings. Henk Badings was an Indo-Dutch composer. He lived from the years 1907 to 1987. His cello concerto launched him into fame. And in addition to being a composer, he was an educator and a teacher. He held numerous teaching positions at the Music School of Stuttgart in Germany and also at the University of Utrecht in the Netherlands. Probably botched that up. But I think it's interesting to note that he used unusual musical scales. I don't know if I'll be able to notice, but maybe we'll find some unusual musical scales in the piece that we're going to review. The piece that we're going to review is called Genese, and we'll start it now. Okay, let's remind the viewers. Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Did you get any of that from this? I mean, what I'm thinking...
I got more of void than let there be. I would think let there be light would be an opposite register from what, because everything is.
Well, maybe that's at the end.
Right. So I got void.
Yeah, and I also got like chaos.
Mm-hmm.
They don't specifically use the word chaos in the passage I just read, but I think chaos is generally associated with the beginning of creation, and like you said, void. And so there was a lot of that random sound that to me represented chaos. And good observation that the descending tones really indicated that there was a chasm going down into the void. So maybe he's building up the story, and that's like the first line.
Could be. And it sounded a bit, kind of, I guess, like you said, almost discordant at times, especially I don't know if that's bells or what they're doing, but when maybe that was cello that came in a little bit, that came in was... sounded really discordant with the rest of it.
Right. Okay. Well, let's find out what he does with this.
All right.
the very beginning of this portion, I heard a sound that was very reminiscent of a bird. And so immediately I thought of the passage where God created the birds that fly in the sky. Mm-hmm. And then right after that, I could have sworn I heard something that sounded very underwater-like.
Yes, I agree 100%.
And then I thought of, he created great whales and the fish that are in the sea. So now I'm trying to fit, what's coming up next? Maybe the things that crawl on the earth.
Right.
And At that point, I don't know if I'm really confabulating and trying to fit a square hole into a square peg into a round hole.
I don't think so at all. In fact, I was sitting here trying to place. I've heard music very similar to this before in. I don't know if it was the BBC's Robin Hood or it was a fantasy. What's the fantasy? The girl Nighthawk. The girl turns into the
Oh, Lady Hawk.
Lady Hawk. And that's what I exactly you saying the bird and the underwater. I was sitting there like did I hear this music in Lady Hawk when she was becoming a bird, or was it maybe that Robin Hood when the Lady of the Lake is coming out of the, because I was thinking water bird, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I know I've heard something very, very similar to this, and I don't know where I can't place it right now.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, what the participation of a piece like this is that you really have to evoke your imagination, and you have to evoke your memory, and you have to evoke your intuition, and all of that kind of cascades into this experience of this piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's there's, there was no bird chirping, and yet it's amazing that both of us come up with bird and with water.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Very interesting.
That's probably a testament to the composers.
Right.
All right, well, let's pick it up from here. Okay, we passed the halfway mark. Now, the title of the piece is called Genesis, and so he could be giving us a representation of the entire book of Genesis or a portion of it. So just because we hit the halfway mark, I'm not really sure if that means halfway into the book of Genesis or what.
Right. Right.
What I got from this portion was things were speeding up and slowing down, and speeding up and slowing down, and to me, that could represent time, which kind of brings us back to the beginning of the chapter of Genesis when. And it's not even explicitly stated God created time, but there is an implicitness that out of chaos and out of the void, you'd eventually get time. Would be one of the first things that comes out of the creation. So that's kind of what I got. Other than that, I had a hard time getting anything concrete out of the sounds.
I actually, so you got speeding up and slowing down. To me, for some reason, it more felt like swaying. Like I saw trees swaying in a forest, and
right.
then what especially reinforced that with the that was coming in. It just sounded woodland forest.
Right.
To me.
Oh, okay. And that would go more along the lines of our previous, with the birds and then the whales and then now moving into the earth and the woods. So I hadn't thought about that. You're probably more on track than I am.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Well, let's see where he goes from this. Maybe we can get a little more commonality. I thought I heard sounds of like a monkey. what? Monkeys make that sound. And then I thought I heard something that resembled insects.
I definitely had a sense of insects.
And then there was a very clear, sharp break.
Hmm.
Almost as if to say, I'm going to start a whole new thought.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then and then he started introducing rhythm and organization. And very primitive and very short rhythms he started bringing in. And I wonder if that's symbolizing the creation of man, because man organizes rhythm where everything else
Sure.
is natural and
Sure.
whatnot. So that's where I got. Where did you go with this?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't catch the monkey thing. I definitely thought insects. At one point, I felt like I heard a wind blow through. It kind of just, and that was right before probably the break. And
Okay.
like you, I mean, I thought the break was then signifying we're in a
Right.
new portion of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would imagine, despite the fact he didn't make breaks, enough breaks to say that they were a break of day,
Mm-hmm.
day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. But I think if I were to compose Genesis, which was the creation of the earth and then the creation of the animals and then the creation of man, I would think I'd want the creation of man to stand out.
Sure.
And putting a break in between that and the other seems like something I would do anyway.
Right.
Whether that was exactly what he did or not is questionable. But
yeah, definitely more structured after the break. Like
right.
More
right.
melody and
Yeah, and
rhythm.
thought composed.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, we're in the home stretch now.
Alrighty. lot.
And as well as bells.
Yes.
In fact, at the very end, to me, it sounded like church bells, like someone was getting married.
Uh, yes.
You know, like when people walk out after the end, the church bells are ringing, everybody's throwing the confetti. That to me, that's what came to my mind, and marrying Adam and Eve, perhaps, or also loosely associating to William Blake, The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, which is also a religious theme that kind of crops up when I think of marriage.
I didn't think the marriage thing. What first struck me was it was very opposite of the beginning.
Yes.
The beginning was, and this was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
this was creation,
Uh-huh.
and I before even the bells, I was. It just felt like what was going on in the background, not the piano, or it sounded almost like a Chinese sitar or something there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the stuff in the background from that, it felt like it was building steps, and I was picturing even like a cathedral or something before the bells even rang. And then when that rang, I
was too.
I felt a cathedral of some sort had been built.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I kept hearing something metallic in the background, and I thought maybe a gong. Because it was very home and it kind of sustained notes, but then that kind of built and layered, and then it got to the end where I was like, oh, that sounds like church bells. And he used the piano very percussively.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not sure. Not necessarily sure what to make of that. Maybe putting your stamp on the world, like saying I'm here,
possibly.
I'm here, and you can't deny it. This is what I sound like. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I couldn't place the piano or the sitar,
right.
what they were meaning, but I do get you the sort of tone felt kind of a presence.
Yeah,
that could be.
Yeah.
Right.
This piece was written in 1958, and in 1958, these sounds must have been so unique. The synthesizer was just coming out. Electronic sounds was not commonplace back then, and so for someone to hear something like this in 1958, it probably made their eyes really open wide, you know?
Yeah.
So once again, this is Henk Badings, and he wrote this piece called Genese, and he wrote, in addition to this, he wrote 15 symphonies. And he also has several concertos. And remember, the cello concerto is the one that launched him, so if you want, go check that one out. And so I'm sure one of his symphonies is probably really killer. Any last words? All right. Well, hope you enjoy this, and we'll see you next time.